Me that we can't get cocky about Donald Trump's chances in November. I responded. He then deleted his account. He's not what you'd call a stout-hearted soul. If disagreement makes you run for the exits, then you need to get yourself institutionalized immediately. And just stay there. You'll be happier. Here's something Trump knows. Cockiness is a form of psychological warfare. As Trump would say, what have we got to lose? We have to be happy warriors, like Kellyanne Conway. If we lose, we go down with smiles on our faces. During the Korean War, our men had to use World War II era equipment. Propeller-driven aircraft went up against probably the best jet fighters of the era, the Russian MiG-15. And these were our men before they went out to fight vastly superior enemy aircraft. Gunner First Lieutenant Pape and pilot Captain Milton Royals, 1953. They survived 3 years flying that aircraft, and the picture portrays two very happy men standing next to each other, and then a picture of the aircraft itself, which is a propeller-driven machine. I used to wonder how men and women could smile as they went out to face violent death. It's because they accepted that it could happen. They made peace with the concept, and they put it aside. They were happy warriors. Bernie Sanders is pre-failed. He keeps saying the same thing. Too many families are living paycheck to paycheck. Nobody ever asks him why. It's because the answer is almost all of them planned poorly. Because of my psychological issues, I never had a career. I worked in 5 different fields, and I never made enough money to have children. So I didn't have children. Those are the cards I was dealt. Period. When my parents became enfeebled, I moved into one of their houses and served as their factotum. I ran errands, shopped for them, cleaned for them, did home improvement jobs for them, and guarded them. In return, I paid no rent. They paid for health insurance, and they gave me an hourly wage. Except for one brother, my other siblings all started families. That brother and I watched over our parents for about 15 years, which allowed them independence. When I was a young man, I had plans. None of them came to pass. So what? Welcome to life. Bernie Sanders says that I have to fork over my own money to people who made poor decisions. I disagree. For one thing, giving them my money won't solve anything. The government pumped trillions into fighting poverty, and the poverty rate stayed the same. It's only now that we're seeing massive change. People have jobs. They can create generational wealth, which Bernie Sanders opposes. Another thing Bernie says is that 500,000 people sleep on the streets every night. Well, virtually all of them are mentally ill and or drug addicted. There are also teenage runaways and illegal aliens. We need to change our laws, and we need to reopen psychiatric institutions. Guess what happened in California? The laws were used to save people. If you were an underage prostitute or a drug addict, you were arrested in order to get you off the street. These people were put into rehabilitation programs. They never went to jail. But now, it's illegal to arrest underage prostitutes, so they can't be saved. And felony drug offenses have been reduced to ticketed misdemeanors. There's no leverage to make people save themselves. Bernie will make the entire country into California. Nobody will be incarcerated, homelessness will skyrocket, and children will be sexually exploited out in the open. If America chooses this, so be it. I'm not losing any sleep. And in the meantime, I'm cocky as hell. Americans like cockiness, and Americans understand that a Washington insider of 30 years is not the leftist Trump. Bernie is dour, angry, and hypocritical. He's helped nobody in his entire life. If you're worried that he can win by having a platform that costs 3 times the value of the entire global economy, then there's nothing I can say to you. And we both know that you'll still be afraid no matter what. So, be afraid. Run from the room. I'm going to smile all the way to Trump's landslide re-election, and I'm going to be cocky the whole time. Did you see this? And then Carlos posts a video of the Clarity trailer, basically a mainstream Hollywood production show that portrays Republicans as being out-of-touch oligarchs. Has anyone heard of it? YouTube recommended it for me. Leftist satire. I saw Edward Scissorhands in the theater in 1990. I went with my communist brother. He screamed with laughter and slapped his thighs. "Suburbia!" he'd shout. I don't actually remember the movie, since my brother was making such a spectacle of himself. As a communist, my brother knew he was supposed to demonstrate his intellectual and moral superiority, so he made more noise than a herd of donkeys. He was just ahead of his time. Now, all leftists are sitting in theaters, trying to outdo each other in block-headed displays of intellectual and moral superiority. But there's no movie playing. It's a blank screen. But outside the theater, we're watching the braying jackasses and listening to the Soviet national anthem. So, be cocky. It rattles our enemies to the point that they run away.